when you hear the word cancer, you get shocked and like, oh my God, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. And so what we're trying to say to people, you don't need Albie Aware at all to write any checks. You need Albie Aware, because what we do is we help you with that emotional support. You'll make sure that you, again, are getting all the information you need and asking the right questions, and make sure you get to the end the right way.
Hi, I'm Jeff Holden. Welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. Our purpose and passion is to highlight a nonprofit organization in each weekly episode, giving that organization an opportunity to tell their story in their words to better inform and educate the respective communities they serve, as well as provide one more tool for them to share their message to constituents and donors. Our goal is to help build stronger communities through shared voices and to both encourage and support the growth of local nonprofit organizations through podcasting. Thanks to our partners for their support in getting these stories told. SMUD, Sacramento Metropolitan Utility District's Shine Awards program benefiting nonprofits for energy efficiency. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations, and Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. Breast cancer remains the most common cancer among women in the U.S., with over 316,000 new invasive cases and more than 42,000 deaths projected in 2025. 1 in 8 women will face a breast cancer diagnosis in their lifetime. The good news is early detection has led to a 99% 5-year survival rate for localized cases and a steady decline in death rates. However, incidence is rising, particularly among women under 50. This episode, I'm speaking with someone who has not only experienced the loss of a loved one from breast cancer, but also somebody who acted on his frustrations that came from the process of proper diagnosis, care, and prevention. Albie Aware, founded by Doug Carson, has been supporting women with breast cancer and the appropriate preventative care for over 20 years. What they do, how they do it, and who it is they are benefiting makes for an incredible story for an organization that is now recognized as one of the go-to resources for anyone looking for help, support, or just more information on their breast cancer journey. Doug Carson, welcome to the Nonprofit Podcast Network.
Well, thank you very much for letting me be here.
Thank you. You were very candid in our first conversation about what brought this organization to life some 21 years ago. Would you share the story of how Albie Aware came to be?
Yes, it's still with me. Albie was diagnosed with breast cancer in April of 1999.
And Albie is?
Albie, my wife, Albie.
Yes.
She was Alberta Chuchi. She started going by Albie before we got together, and she loved that way. But Albie received the bad notice of breast cancer in 1999. And we went through all the normal channels. You know, you go through the tests and et cetera, the lumpectomy, and then they had to do a full mastectomy. So she went into surgery, and after surgery, the doctor came in and said, you know, Al, we really kicked this cancer right out of you. There's no signs of this cancer at all. He was elated sitting there at the bedside. And he said, you know, what we should do is why don't you just go see your oncologist every 6 months? We'll do a blood test, and then we'll follow it up with, his exam, et cetera. And so I think you're good to go. So she did that for 3 years. April of 2002, she goes back to the oncologist, and he does the blood test. She says, hey, yeah, the blood test looks great, and you look fabulous. So, cancer-free, we'll see you in 6 months. It really was just 2 weeks later. She was having a headache, and her eye was watering horribly. And so she went in to see an ophthalmologist. She thought she had an eye problem. He followed that up with an MRI. That MRI came back, and it showed that she had a brain tumor and right behind her eye, throughout her brain, in her spine and liver, and said she was terminal. Well, that was devastating news. got sat back and said, how can this happen? So we called and we went back to the oncologist that we saw 2 weeks prior and said, look, how can this happen? You just said we were cancer-free, and now she's terminal. And what he said is why I started Albie Aware. He said, well, you can't really determine whether the breast cancer metastasizes unless you do a PET CT scan or an MRI. So I said, well, then why didn't you do that? He said, well, the insurance companies wouldn't authorize the test. I said, well, then why don't you let us pay for it and we go from there? No, that's just not protocol. Well, when I heard that, I really got angry, and we stumped out and we fired that doctor, and we connected with Sutter, and they really, really helped us. They were wonderful in the care that they gave her in their final time. And at that time, they gave her 2 years, maybe a little bit more. She died in 6 weeks.
Oh, my God.
The cancer came on so strong, she died July 4th of 2002. I was so angry about it. I saw what it did to her, which is horrible, but that disease, how it takes a gorgeous woman and turns her into something different. Mm-hmm. And after we went through that period of a week or two, I said, I have to do something. I can't allow other people to go through what I'm going through because it's needless. All she had to be was tested right after that surgery, tested every 6 months. And then if they indicated anything, they could have gone in and taken care of it. But no, they didn't. They let it grow beyond the stage of being able to treat it. And so I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. So I went out, and I'm going to say his name on air because he's an outstanding gentleman, and he's on air. You probably hear a lot of him anyway. And a good friend of mine named Frank LaRosa. Mm-hmm. He and I went to lunch, and he actually went to school at Sac State with Albie at the time. And we were sitting there at lunch, and I was telling him, as a Frank, I'm doing this foundation, but I'm struggling. I don't know the name. I really need a name. And he thought just for a moment, and he says, well, what are you trying to do? I said, I need to make people aware that they need these tests. And if the doctors or insurance companies are refusing it, they have to pound the table and say, I need these tests. So he said, well, then maybe what we do, we call just Albie Aware. And he says, yeah, if you think about it, you say it fast, I'll be aware. It sounds like I'll be aware.
Exactly.
And I went, boom, that is fabulous. And 24 years later, or it's 21 of the 501c3, I always count because I started right away, but the 501c3 started in 2004. That name never gets tiresome. Mm-mm. It doesn't. It just keeps growing and growing. It was fabulous. So I thank him. To this day, I still thank him for all that. So anyway, we started it, and then, like I said, we became a family foundation, and we wanted to help. Albie was a realtor, and I wanted to help women in real estate. But then it says, well, why are we doing that? Why don't we just help everyone? So it morphed into a bigger thing from my very initial thoughts, and so that's why we got a bunch of people together and created a board, and then we went after and got our 501c3, and to make it a legitimate corporation. And then we went out and started marketing it, and we got contracts with Sutter Hospital to begin with to do the testing. And so they give us special pricing for all the tests, which is great. But it started from there.
And by started, what the purpose was really to help women and men in some cases better identify whatever it is so that it doesn't metastasize, or to make sure that they get the proper testing up front, to make sure they get the mammograms on a regular basis, but in a unique way. It wasn't just, here's more information about breast cancer awareness, which is what you do, but it was to provide the resource for those who couldn't necessarily do it, correct?
Correct. Well, they don't realize, that if you find breast cancer early, 0-1, it's 99% survival rate. Mm-hmm. So what does that say? All you need to do is get tested. And if you are getting tested and you do it and you find it early, you don't panic, you go in, you get it taken care of, and your life moves on.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're trying to do is drive home. And part of it is we need to make sure people understand they need to be an advocate of their own health. They need to pound the table. Doctors are great. But geez, they are so overworked. The system gets bogged down. All right, it's no fault of anybody. It's just a reality.
Yeah, it's a systemic reality.
It's just the way it is. So everybody out there probably listening has picked up the phone to make an appointment for a doctor. I'll see you in 6 months. And
right?
What? If you're dealing with cancer, you can't wait 6 months. And if you're also afraid of what might happen, if you're one of those susceptible situations, you need to get the test now, not 6 months. So what we do is that we take you into our little family, we call it, and we make sure that you get your doctor's appointment. And if your doctor is booked out, we're going to find somebody else that gets you in. And we're going to walk you through and help you navigate that medical system, making sure that all the appointments that you need get there, making sure you're connected with a nurse navigator, work with that nurse navigator because we have people that work closely with us. And we go out and try to find all the proper programs that are available to you. There's several government programs out there that pay for things. People don't know about all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we do is we make sure that we start with those if they will take care and pay for it. We do that. If they don't, then we do. But we follow them through all the way to the end, making sure they are taken care of. We also even give them a little kit when we find out, and it's full of little goodies that help them after their surgery. And we get those donated from all the other little organizations that we work closely with.
And that's a perfect segue to the work closely with.
Yeah.
The collaborative part of what has become the organization really is a lot of tentacles into the community, certainly starting with our healthcare providers, of which, if I'm not mistaken, you work with all of them.
Yes.
You have relationships with Sutter and Dignity and Kaiser and
Davis.
And UC Davis, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about the collaborative pieces. Who are some of the other organizations you might work with who might bubble up into the organization?
Well, there's Every Woman Counts, which is an organization that pays for a lot of services. But all these organizations are listed on our website, and they're there, or Melissa, who's in our office, can definitely direct them. I apologize for not popping it right off the top of my head. Carrie's Touches, it was one of the other ones. But there are people who have materials for their bras to help them with their different things, with the tubes that go in for draining after the mastectomy. There's creams, and the creams are so, so important. And that's another story I would love to tell you. But the cream that they have, which is anti-burn cream, because during the radiation, you get burned a lot, and you need a special cream. And if you can't believe this, your insurance company will pay for the test or the surgery, but they won't pay for the cream.
Oh. And
you go, why? And the cream is $600.
Oh.
It's not $26.95 at the store.
Yeah, this isn't just
$600. So Albie Aware pays for the cream, and we make sure you get those kinds of things. And so there's all those little things. There's wigs. We have people association with people with wigs, and they're all in our collaborative family, as we will. They work with us. We work with them, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. On the healthcare systems, because they are insurance-based, how do you interface? How do you get in between, or do you just circumvent? Are you separate from the insurance element?
We're definitely separate. So you walk in to, let's just say you walk into the doctor and he says, oh my gosh, we need to do a mammogram. And so they go, do you have insurance? Well, obviously, if you had insurance, you'd be there.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your copay? This is another major thing. So yeah, they have insurance, but yes, but I have a huge copay. Well, this diagnostic mammogram is going to cost, $1,200, and out of pocket it's maybe $1,000 or $800. She said, well, I don't have that. Albie Aware steps in. Sutter or the other hospitals will pick up the phone and they'll call Albie Aware and say, hey, we need help. Our patient needs this test and can't afford the copay. We jump in, we take a look at the thing, and we pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that patient doesn't miss a step. So we are we don't work against the insurance companies. We work actually with them.
Side by side to this extent.
We're
Sure.
just adding additional funds.
And I'm sure there's cases where there may be no insurance that you're able to support that individual, that woman who maybe is really in a challenged situation and maybe even homeless, yes?
Yes. It would be shocking to you to know how many people that don't have insurance, period. No insurance. And I was shocked, and we take care of those people every day. In fact, Melissa, who's in our office, does a wonderful job with our clients, deals with up to about 20 to 25 people a day.
Oh, my goodness.
A day. And the phone rings off the hook, and she's, governing them to different places. But the majority of those phone calls are no insurance. And then the other parts are, co-pays. But then there's additional services that we have. I think it's the equipment. It's just one lady had, and I don't know how far we can talk on air about the conditions, but she had leakage from a nipple that was horrible. And it's this whole special treatment that has to happen. So her insurance companies would not pay for it. Well, it's expensive. So we jumped in and we made sure we took care of that. Mm-hmm. So there's little things like that. There's and I don't know if I have the capability right now to touch on every single little one.
And not necessary.
Because my brain won't
it's
calculate
okay.
But there's so much in like our website or a direct call to Melissa. And please don't wait for getting tested.
And that's the point, to make sure that people understand, just because you don't have the capability to pay, there's an organization out there that can help, and it's Albie Aware.
Yes.
So they can reach out and find a way to get their situation taken care of. Not to mention this advocacy is so important, and many people are intimidated, and they just don't have the understanding, wherewithal, knowledge, whatever it may be. They need somebody to help them advocate for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's where you come in.
Yeah, well, as you can see, I've been around a few years, and I remember when I was younger, when you picked up the phone, you talked to the doctor, and the doctor said that was gospel. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all he said. You do it. Right. Well, you cannot do that today. You really sincerely can't. There are examples over and over again where if you are not pushing, if you're not even investigating on your own, and you're not demanding certain things, you can get lost in the shuffle, mm-hmm. and you're going to die.
Yeah, and that's a true point. So true in so many cases, and it's frustrating. We have all the access to learn now through digital access. Not everybody has access to be able to learn. And secondly, once you do have that access, then what? Now you have to convince somebody that's the path you need to take, because you're experiencing whatever it is, those symptoms, that condition, whatever it may be, as you try to convey to the doctor who you can't get to.
There's one point we haven't touched on, and I'd love to touch on if you don't mind.
Please.
And so we're talking right now about no insurance, the copay's too big, all these different things. But what if that you're the richest person in the world, and you get a phone call from your doctor and they said, "I'm sorry to tell you, you have breast cancer." Does all that money not to keep you from being afraid? No, it doesn't. It will that when you hear the word cancer, you get shocked and like, oh my God, what do I do now? Mm-hmm. And so what we're trying to say to people, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you can go pay for the hospital itself. You don't need the money. You don't need Albie Aware at all to write any checks at all. You need Albie Aware, because what we do is we help you with that emotional support. Melissa will sit there and talk to you. She'll make sure that you, again, are getting all the information you need and asking the right questions, and make sure she follows you through the system to make sure you get to the end the right way. And so to release that fear, mm-hmm. that you have, make you relax. It's not the end of the world. We can take care of it. Just follow our lead.
And that fear is gender and ethnicity and race agnostic. Everybody experiences it. It doesn't matter how much wealth you've got and who you are. If you get a diagnosis or you get something that looks like, a potential life-threatening situation, you're challenged.
Yeah, in fact, that leads this is that you're talking to men. 3% of men get breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, 3%. No big deal. But I'm not going to say his name again. But a gentleman that we know very well that we didn't personally help at the time, but he came to us afterwards to make sure other men are aware of what's going on. So he goes to his doctor and he says, "Hey, doc," and he knows the doctor very well. It's his primary care has been with him a long time. And he says, I feel this little thing over here on my breast, the side of my breast. And he says, it's bugging me. And immediately, it's come on, it's a cyst. Don't worry about it. You're worrying too much. So he says, okay, I let it go. He says, but I see the doc every 6 months. So next 6 months, he says, it's a little bit bigger. So I'm really worried about this thing. The doctor dismissed him again. He says, he got angry at me. He dismissed me. So the following 6 months, I went back and it was there and it was bigger. He says, look, I don't care what you're saying. I need a mammogram. I want some tests. So the doctor got upset with him. So, okay, fine, threw his hands in the air. So I'll order the darn thing. And so they ordered it and he had breast cancer stage 3.
Oh my gosh.
And he almost died. He went through complete hell in his treatment. And even to this day, he isn't completely out of the woods. He always has something there and he keeps going back, etc. It's changed his life tremendously. And all because, you're a man, let's just ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
Please. I mean, yeah, I understand. We're not thinking of it. I do the same. But darn it, if you think it's there, just
get
it tested.
Yes, denial is our favorite word with a D, right?
Absolutely.
We'll be back with more from Doug and learn how Albie Aware continues their support for women with breast cancer right after we hear from those responsible for making our program possible.
Hello, this is Scott Thomas with Cap Trust in our Sacramento office. I specialize in working with local nonprofits and associations. Annually, we survey private and public nonprofit organizations across the country to better understand challenges they see in today's environment. In our more recent survey, we heard concerns about proper board governance, mission-aligned investment, and how to implement alternative investments. If you would like a copy of the survey or to discuss your organization, look me up, Scott Thomas at captrust.com.
I'm thrilled to have Western Health Advantage partnering with us as they do so much to support so many nonprofit agencies in our community. As a truly local health plan, you'll find individual and family options, employer options, plans for CalPERS and Medicare Advantage. From medical services to pharmacy, health and wellness support, as well as behavioral health care, Western Health Advantage has a plan that fits what you need. As an employer, for profit or nonprofit business, individual or family, you can find more at westernhealth.com. Let's get into some of the funding for the organization. How do you raise funds? Because if I'm not mistaken, you're not federally supported or supported through contract with state organizations. It's really grassroots funding, yes?
Yes, it definitely is. There's several different phases. One, obviously, is events. Events bring a lot. And we have so many good people that have come to us that have said, hey, I tell you what, we want to do this event and we want to make you the beneficiary. And that's great. And then take some of our involvement. Albie Aware has a couple of their own events, but the majority of them, what we call third-party events. There are other people. One of those is the one that's your favorite one. It's called the Pink Ladies. It's a group of women that put on a garden party in the Fab 40s that just is a ticket to be had. It's great.
And that happens every September.
Every September.
And this is 2025, and we're having the discussion. This is your 10th anniversary, yes?
That's correct.
Wonderful.
It's awesome. It's a wonderful party. It raises a lot of money. And you can't, even an event that you sell a ticket for a decent price and et cetera, you get everything donated, you can't make enough money by selling tickets.
Right.
It just doesn't work. The amount of effort it goes into, et cetera. So what does it come down to? Sponsorships. That really is your whole key. And then what we try to do in our best way is to make sure that we turn back and give the sponsors as much help and recognition and exposure as we can, and to do that. But sponsors are key. So you got the events, and then you have the sponsorships. Then we have some donors that say, I have a family foundation, or I do really well, and I just want to give back, and I love what you do. Here's a check for. And we get some decent-sized funds from different people. And I know one major, several. I will tell you this, and I went to Christian Brothers High School, and we always call ourselves Brothers Boys. To this day, we just had our 60th reunion, but to this day, there are groups of these people that I went to school with that are still close friends. Just got back from a golf tournament. We just see each other. The support from just them is phenomenal. And then the residual pieces of them, the people. So from there, it is people hearing me talk today that, I think I like what he's saying. I want to help with this thing. And they just send him money. And one of the programs that I am really strong on that we need to grow, and it's a difficult one to market, we call it Albie Always. And what it is, Jeff, can you give us $10 a month? If you think
subscription-based donation.
Yeah. Just give us your credit card for a year contract, and we'll just charge you $10 a month, $20 a month. We have people that do much more.
Sure.
But we ask, can you afford $10? If we had a group, enough people that do that, it would pay the monthly expenses. Then that means that all those other programs that we're talking about, all that money goes right into the mission. Our job is not to have CDs and 401ks and all that. Our job is to take your money and spend it on people who need it. That's our job. But have enough money
to manage it. So on the budget of the organization, roughly what do you work with on an annual?
Actually, we're not that big. Right now, we're about $450,000.
Okay.
And we need to grow. A part of it is because we're Sacramento-based. We're like 7 counties around Sacramento. So when you're like that, you don't get the major corporation money that come in because they want to give it to because it's national. We don't get national exposure stuff. So it's all the local stuff.
Sure. And how many people do you employ?
1.
Really? So it's just Melissa?
It's just Melissa. We have had
She's got
more.
her hands full.
Well, it is and it isn't, because she's there to take care of our mission. So we have me, Melinda, my wife. We have a working board. So we have people
Wonderful.
that are all around Melissa that do jobs. I'm on the board and my job is.
Yes.
And this is what I do. And for example, you have an accountant, you have a lawyer, you have somebody's in social media and graphic arts, and their job is to take care of all the needs of Albie Aware.
Yes.
And so we have a volunteer basis, fabulous. And we have all these. In October, we got 3 events on October 18th, 3 that we have to be at. So not all of us can't be at all of them.
Divide and conquer.
So we have to divide and conquer. So we have a volunteer base that go out in the field and do these things.
Wonderful.
And so with the volunteers and the working board, I think we need more employees because my goal is to not be 7 counties around Sacramento. My goal is to help more people. So if we're going to be able to do that, we need more money to have another Melissa to go get bigger. But the other part, I don't want to have tons of employees and just pay for the employees
Correct.
and not go to the mission.
Well, you're leading right into the next question, which is, if money weren't an object, what would the organization look like?
Oh, well, first of all, we wouldn't be 7 counties around Sacramento.
I saw that coming.
We would be going, I want to have some football player have Albie Aware on his shoes. Yeah, that program that they have to say one thing. I want to help people nationwide, and I want to have chapters all over the place popping up. Do you know Make-A-Wish started the way we did, but they help children, and all of a sudden, then they got started because they had some money behind them. But they was grassroots, and they just popped up all over because somebody in San Francisco said, oh, I want to do that for children. So they started the foundation. That's what I want. I want to get other people, and I want to help other people come forward. But and then I want an office. I dream about this building that Albie Aware corporate office, and then down below it's like a little retail center of all those services that we talked about, the wigs and the creams and all those things. So you could walk into this building and you have everything that you need to take care of your journey through getting cured from breast cancer, and all right there at your fingertips. That's what I want.
I love that. And I love the fact that you're able to share that so articulately to the people who are listening, for somebody to hear it and say, I get that. I understand that. And yes, that's a wonderful mission and a wonderful goal. Let's figure a way to get there, because that's visual. And I can see the need for that. It gives that woman a one source stop. Right. She doesn't have to shop and go all over online and try to figure out what it is. You have people there who understand. They know the situation. They can work with her or him to whatever the need is instantly and save them all that time and trouble. And I'm sure it would be subsidized to some way, shape, or form in terms of the expense as well.
But there are people out there with the money, or foundations out there with the money that could go, oh, I think I'd like to take that whole concept and push it forward. Yeah, if they're there, I will definitely help them.
We have a place for them to land.
We have a place for them. We definitely do.
Looking back to reality today, what's the greatest need of the organization?
Obviously, beyond the obvious is money, but
Sure.
I will tell you that's the toughest thing in the world for me, to always go ask for money. And I've never been good at it, but I have to do it. But the other need is to make sure people, what you're doing, you're trying to help me make other people aware. And if more and more and more people become aware and they start listening and learning how to be an advocate of their own health, it doesn't have to be breast cancer. It could be anything.
Right.
It could be kidney disease. I don't care what it is. Just learn to be an advocate of your own health. And then also, I personally would tie nutrition into it. I don't think nutrition gets tied into medicines as much as it should. I believe there's a lot of natural ways to help. So I would love to build a nutrition program around the services of Albie Aware, just to help you. It's not. I'm not saying nutrition cures you, but sometimes it can almost cure you.
Right, and we're learning so much more every single day about what values of certain diets are and what the consequences of certain diets are, to
Absolutely.
the negative and to the positive, which is a big plus. You've been committed to the organization since the beginning, Doug. It's predominantly your organization as a result of your relationship with Albie. And it's taken a lot of work and a lot of time, and you work a full-time job on top of it.
Well, I don't make any money with Albie Aware. It costs me money. So I get asked that a lot, by the way. How much money do you make?
Oh, I wasn't even going there.
I know, but it's kind of zero. But yes, I have another job that I have to work at to make a living, so that I can keep Albie Aware going. Yes.
And I'm very familiar with working boards, so
yes.
I understand that.
Yeah. But
what do you do to relax? What do you do for fun?
Oh, well, we talked about it. My favorite hobby is cooking. I love cooking so much. If I'm stressed out, people can't understand this. They get stressed when they have to go make dinner. I get stress release when I have to go make dinner. I mean, or some days, like on a Saturday, I'll just get up and my whole day is planned at the markets and then back at the kitchen and just playing and creating sauces, things, just doing that. I just love to cook. And then I write cooking columns and I have recipes and people are bugging me for a book, but that's a tough job.
It is.
Yeah, but that's my real thrill. Besides watching sports, I mean, my son also got me into fantasy football, which is crazy what that does. I said, "You're nuts. I'm not doing that." I got into it. It means absolutely nothing. But, man, it really takes all the stress in the world away from you because you're doing something that means nothing.
Yeah.
But you're happy doing it. So between that and cooking, I'm good.
And it's fun to learn from leadership of these organizations how many people actually have shared cooking? And I think that's that personal piece that we all get to know a little bit about the individual that we see in the professional space, but never about the personal. And then when you run into them socially, how often it is the first conversation isn't about the organization. It's like, hey, I heard you love cooking. I got a great recipe for.
Right.
And I hear it and see it so many times. It's fun.
We gravitate to food.
Yeah.
We really do.
Well, we need it.
We need it.
That's for sure. What's the best way to learn more about Albie Aware?
The website, I think, is probably the easiest way. Go right to the website, albieaware.org.
Okay, and it's
ALBIEAWARE.org.
Yes, okay, good.
So gives you information, it gives you who to call, what to do. If you don't remember my name, you don't remember Melissa, it's all there.
Mm-hmm.
And do that. And then we do a lot of social media. So we do some other marketing, again, the events and the direct mail from the events and those kinds of things. But if you're out there and you've never heard of an event, and there are still people that I've never heard of Albie Aware, and we're 21 years old
sure.
in Sacramento, and you think somewhere along the line you would. But more and more and more people do hear about us, and it's word of mouth. So what we are also creating is a group of, as I'll call them, evangelists. It's just people who know me, who know the situation, and will be in a party and say, yeah, I just ran into and I just went to an Albie Aware event. Have you ever been to an event like that? Have you ever heard of Albie? And those kind of people going to parties or gatherings and they start talking about it, it is amazing how it spreads by just word of mouth. But if you need help, you ask your doctor, ask your Sutter, Dignity, Kaiser, Davis.
UCD.
They all know about Albie Aware.
And they all refer. And
refer. We work as partners with them. And then all the nurse navigators. So if you're sick, you're going to hear about Albie Aware. If you're not sick, I guess it's an event or maybe listen to the podcast.
That's right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, with breast cancer awareness, getting so much traction, and it's no longer a matter of the testing and about how or when. It's really the awareness. It's just the awareness to know that you've got places to go. And you address that biggest hurdle with proper diagnosis and education for those who are underserved or uninsured. And that's happening right here in our 7-county community. I mean, it's a big deal, and it supports so many different people. When you said 25 people a day, I almost fell out of my chair. I mean, that's a huge number. So it's great to see what you're doing. It's great to see what's been going on for the last 20 plus years, the engagement you've gotten, the continuum that you've got, and the connectivity. What a difference you're making in saving the lives and the quality of lives for so many people, both women and men.
Right.
And thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's one thing we didn't touch on a little bit too is breast health classes. I just thought of it, breast health classes. We do classes all the time for organizations. Let's say you're a corporation and your employees, if they're always sick or they really get sick, they get breast cancer and they have to go through, you're losing them, or they have to cost your insurance program a lot of money, which costs you in the long run. We do go in and do a breast health class at the office for all their employees. Great way to do things.
And those are just part of the service you provide.
Yes, part of this. Yeah, we do the services all over, and we do them in English and in Spanish. And for the Spanish, because with the Spanish community, there's a lot of people that don't have insurance.
Sure. Doug, thank you for all that you're doing for the continued effort for that working board and for what Albie Aware means to the community.
Thank you. This has been fabulous. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to the Nonprofit Podcast Network. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If what you heard moved you, please reach out to that organization and do what you can to help. If you like and appreciate what we're doing to support local nonprofits, please give us a positive review, subscribe, and share. If you're a nonprofit with an interest in participating in an episode, you can reach me at jeff@hearmenowstudio.com. Once again, we're grateful for the businesses who have made this program possible. CapTrust, fiduciary advice for endowments and foundations. You can find them in Sacramento, Roseville, and Folsom. captrust.com. SMUD Shine Awards, helping support our nonprofit community with grants for more efficient energy usage. smud.org/shine. And Western Health Advantage, a full-service healthcare plan for individuals, employer groups, and families. westernhealth.com.